we're putting this content out into an environment that is based on an algorithm that rewards or kind of is trying to track human behavior and clicking on something, right?
Short attention span.
Right. And so what ends up rising to the top is content that is incredibly sensational and engaging.
Outlandish,
Right. So you're gonna have somebody like MrBeast who's gonna have 100 million views plus. And he is the king of being able to compel people to click on something.
It's like 1,000 people are going to eat 1,000 pizzas, and it's 3 minutes long, and you're like, oh.
Right. And that's content that's based on engagement, and it's incredibly effective at building a business on YouTube. And now we have to play that game to an extent.
Yeah.
You know, you look at the titles and the thumbnails of a typical Good Mythical Morning episode, and Wonderhole as well.
Yeah.
Feels very YouTube-y. But then we're kind of using this entry point of this thumbnail as like, hey, you think you're clicking on this.
It's a Trojan Horse.
It's a Trojan Horse.
That's what the gelatin, what is it, jelly?
Gummies, yeah.
The gummy versions
We made life-size gummy versions of ourselves.
Yeah, headline, we made life-size gummy versions of ourselves. Like, that feels very MrBeast.
Right.
But the story is so touching. And like, you go to the pastor and make amends to the guy whose house you egged that night you got in the car accident. And then let him egg your car. I mean, putting all that aside, like someone who more works in Hollywood, like the stuff that you guys do, again, I'm not trying to kiss your butt plug. It's genius. It's really fucking great stuff. There's a lot of YouTube creators out there doing stuff that it's like, it feels kind of secondhand. You're like, okay.
Totally.
I mean, the Breaking Bad, the musical that you guys did, I mean, that was better than anything you would see on Saturday Night Live or any of the top sketch shows, you know. And
thank you, man.
It like super, and the songs were great, and the casting was great, the production was great. Like, the list goes on and on. The other thing I'm fascinated by is, and I think why you give a lot of people a lot of hope and meaning, is you've done it on your own path. And you've never, like, quote unquote, sold out. You haven't kind of gone into the Hollywood machine. Yeah, you have to negotiate Google and YouTube and algorithms and subs and and branding and all that. And that is its own.
It's not for lack of trying.
Okay.
You know, they wouldn't let us in.
Early on, yeah.
They wouldn't let us in. And yeah, we very early on, we got a hosting gig. We got a television show. Then later we got the IFC show, but like nothing stuck.
Yeah.
And
we're grateful for
that. Not for lack of trying.
And by the way, and I think I told you the story before. I don't know when it was. It was, I think it was the Red Barn Furniture ad, but it might have even been before that I
Red
saw.
House. Yeah.
Red House.
Yep.
Furniture ad, which is still one of my favorite all-time things. But I went to my manager at the time and I was like, you need to sign these guys. And this is where it's at. This is the future of like how comedy is going to work. And I literally tried to like, and he watched a few things like, yeah, this is funny and quirky. I don't quite get, what do you think we should do? It's like, I don't know. This is, trust me, and I'm not bullshitting you. I really tried to I didn't get in touch with you guy. Maybe he wrote to you or something. It was very feeble. Anyways, it all petered out. But I do want to say that and not long after, we founded Soul Pancake and tried to kind of, in a different way, get in on the whole YouTube thing. But I think it's inspiring and it shows the limitations of Hollywood, of how much they have missed the boat with whether it's podcasting like Joe Rogan, whether it's like MrBeast, whether it's you guys, people that are becoming some of the top players in entertainment for people in their 20s are working completely outside of the Hollywood system. And Hollywood missed the boat on that. They really missed the boat. And it shows you how kind of narrow-minded and short-sighted they are.
Yep.
Yeah. And when you build an entire system, you know, it's really hard to change. And if you're not allowed in the system, you got to find a different way. And it creates new things. It creates new mediums. It's pretty awesome. I mean, it's been nerve-wracking to always question, what should we do now? to never have a path.
Right.
So we started to think about.
There is sometimes something nice about like, oh, I've been cast on this show.
Yeah.
Other people are going to write it. I'm just going to
Yeah.
act. I've got 6 months of work. I'm getting a nice paycheck. And then, that's a little different. I mean, how big is your staff?
Like 100 people.
Holy moly. So you got the whole human resources aspect of
Yes.
it. And like,
We got
There's
a
a lot
good
of
HR
things
team.
we
though.
never signed up for. But we've been really, really fortunate in hiring some really talented
Yeah.
people that have been with us for a long time. And
like Allie.
Yeah, like Allie.
Hi, Allie.
and we
Fire her.
so I mean, essentially, we've kind of found ourselves like everything was always done out of this necessity. I would say that I was actually talking about this in therapy last night. That so much of the early
We're
part
confessing so much here today.
Yeah, so much of the early part of our career was reactionary and trying to take advantage of an opportunity and being like, I think this will work. I think this will work. I think this will work. And now we find ourselves this many years into it, having had a lot of things not work, but enough things work to sustain this business, have the option to be like, well, let's just make this show Wonderhole that we want to make, and we'll see who shows up for it. But it is an interesting place to be, like have the ability to be like, we can make a decision. We're kind of the masters of our own destiny, and it's a bit scary. Where sometimes it can be easier when it's just like, okay, here's an opportunity. People are making daily videos. What's our answer to that?
Well, I love that you're taking big swings and that's what studios do. Movie studios look how many movies they release in a year and how few of them actually make money. And studios know this. If they're going to release, 20 movies in a year, they know that, 14 of them are going to lose money. 1 or 2 are going to break even, and 2 or 3 are going to make a shit ton of money. And that's what you swing for. What are some quote unquote failures and misses you guys have had, and what have you learned from them?
Well, one of the biggest was...
Don't say it. Say it.
In 2016, 2017?
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about...
well, there's a handful.
He's got one, then you've got one, it sounds like.
So
I don't know if I can talk about it.
2017, YouTube approached us and basically said, they approached us and said, we want to make GMM into like a late night show. We wanted to be the answer to late night. And we were like, well, is there some way?
This is part of the like YouTube Originals program.
This is when they were financing content.
That's what the Karate Kid series
came
out of that is now on
Suzanne
Netflix.
Daniels was part of that.
Suzanne.
Yep.
Yeah, and we made a
who was married to Greg Daniels, the creator of The Office. So
exactly.
And Suzanne is
she's great. She's awesome. Yeah.
We love Suzanne, and Suzanne actually was an advocate of ours for...
She tried to make YouTube to take it to the next level.
And we got to make a really fun show.
And she had a lot of successes, but then Google was like, eh.
Yeah, we made a really fun show called Buddy System, did a couple of seasons of that, which was a YouTube original, which was a half-hour comedy.
That wasn't the mistake.
But that wasn't the mistake. We learned a lot in doing that. But then we had this opportunity to basically, the way we steered the conversation was, well, how about instead of making a late night show, we just kind of supercharge Good Mythical Morning and make it in, late night morning. Who cares? It's YouTube, but people watch it when they watch it. So we essentially brought on this huge staff with the money that they gave us, and we started running Good Mythical Morning like a TV show. And I think we went from probably 40 or 50 staff to like 130 or something like that, really, really quickly. And we were releasing 4 or 5 segments of Good Mythical Morning every single day. That added up to like a half hour.
5 days a week.
Oh my God.
We started with
we had a bunch of celebrity
and you
guests.
guys are in all of them.
Yeah.
It was wild. It was way too much.
Oh my God, that would kill you. That would kill you.
Yeah.
And the product aspect of YouTube actually wasn't made to group the episodes, to group the segments together into an episode.
Yeah.
So it was like
for
working
the
against itself.
For the user experience was just, there's a shit ton of videos and I don't know what to watch and I don't know what the main episode is.
It's not how YouTube works. It's not how the viewer interacts with it. Yeah.
And first of all, completely unsustainable. We would not have been able to continue doing it. It was just too much work for us personally. But also the fans pretty universally just were like, well, guys, this is not
too much.
This isn't what we signed up for.
Let's slow it down. Just
Go
sit
back to
down,
what
have
you
a
were
cup
doing.
of coffee and chat a little bit. Yeah.
And I would say that there was a failure in trying to make that work. There's also a failure in, I remember in the midst of that, we did an episode of our podcast where we were essentially trying to explain to the fans why what we were doing was a good thing. Defending ourselves, explaining ourselves, which I have a tendency to do.
The fans were having none of it.
One of my least favorite things about myself is my tendency to want to defend or explain myself. But I stepped right into it. And, you know, it came off as super defensive, and it was. But because we were just like, you guys just don't understand what we're trying to do. They did understand we understood what they had connected with. Eventually, it took us a time to understand what they were actually connecting with and what they wanted. The good part of that was, well, we brought on a lot of really talented people, and we were able to keep some of those processes that we created to make this super efficient TV show.
Mm-hmm. Our showrunner now was a writer.
Yeah. So now the show functions very differently and is made very differently in a way that's less taxing on us, allows us to make things like Wonderhole. So we turned the mistake into, you know, an asset, but that was a failure. That was a media failure.
The reason I bring this up is we learn so much from our mistakes and failures, and I'm just kind of like, if you guys are talent and studio heads at the same time, and creatives and writers, and you're wearing every single hat. I don't know how you have done it for this long without going mad, but you know what. Failure, I guess, here's why I bring it up.
Fail forward. You know, all the corporate speak stuff. It's true.
But honestly, for our viewers and listeners, and a lot of young ones that we have out there, failure is seen as not an option. And failure is seen as just unhealthy and something to be avoided at all costs. Whereas failures are, you know, making mistakes is part of the human experience. And you live and learn and grow and gain wisdom, and it's just it's a part of life. And I think younger generations struggle with that reality.
Yeah, I mean, for us, I mean, even Good Mythical Morning, it came out of a failure. It came out of a show being canceled, right? I think almost every significant development in our careers has been responding to a failure. Like, and the reason we kind of we tried Wonderhole is like, we're like, okay, well, we're taking probably too much time, spending too much money on making this thing for YouTube that without a sponsor, it's not going to make its money back, at least in season 1. But we'll never get to whatever it's going to lead to if we don't just start doing it.
Right.
You know?
You've been such an inspiration to millions. Like I said, these crazy born-again engineers coming out of the mountains of North Carolina, starting a media empire. What advice do you have? It's the lamest question in the world, and it's the most important question in the world. What advice do you have for people that want to be creatives? By the way, I kind of hate that word. Everyone is a creative, sidebar. But that are aspiring creators, that are fans, that want to create content that makes the world a better place, that uplifts people, that has a kindness and a good heart to it. Like, what advice would you say to them, both on a philosophical level and on just a searingly practical level?
I really appreciate the part you added about, you know, creating something that has an impact in the world, you know, and it's not just about achieving fame or success or money or whatever. But I mean, you can, a creative, as you said, can definitely get in their head about that. You know, you set these lofty goals. I think that, like we said, we didn't come to grips with the opportunities we had and how we were putting good out into the world until the success was coming. I think we were true to ourselves, and we maniacally iterated on things that we wanted to do. And we tried our best to find a way to make it work. When we started, we had already started families. You know, we had kids to support. We had to buy groceries. So it was a very real exercise, like finding the intersection of business, of income and expression. And so you can get in your head about it and you can have these lofty goals, but you've got to make an answer to opportunity. And if you do that in a way that puts your best foot forward, that's what we did. We committed to getting together. We looked at each other and we said, what do you have? And then the other guy would say what they had. And then the other guy would say, well, this excites me about that. And then we would go for it as quickly as possible to then, in believing that it would work.
By the way, let me just insert this. This excites me about what you just pitched is such a great tool to use, because it's easy to hear someone's idea and be like, nah, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
You
But
don't want to do
it's
that.
a crazy idea. Like in what you said, this one part of it, that really excites me. And then you can focus in.
And we were in a position where we had to do something. And then if it didn't work, we had to do something else. And we had to because the alternative was to do something we didn't want to do.
Necessity forced your creativity.
Which was engineering, or, you know, something else that was more stable, or just making wedding videos or videos for your father-in-law, the dentist. You know, it was like,
Yeah.
So it was very practical, but also very genuine. And we thought we knew what our strengths were, and we played to them as much as we could.
And I think that's a key as well, is that only you can create what you can create. And I'm so grateful that we're not professional athletes. Let me explain that, right? Because if we were professional athletes, it's like you got to go out there on the court and you have to play the same game that LeBron James is playing. Like there's a select number of people who are good enough to do that. Creativity is very different. You literally can do the thing that you can do and create in the way that you can create better than anybody else.
Yeah.
And we're kind of in an epidemic right now of, I don't know if you've seen this, but like the number of copycats in the creative space right now, in the creative
I haven't
space.
seen that. So on YouTube, there's a lot of people just
Same title, same
YouTube,
thumbnail,
TikTok,
same videos. but
literally the same
re-executed.
exact thumbnail, the same exact title, and then the same exact execution. And sometimes it will be on like a TikTok, it'll be the exact same script. Somebody had this angle on this thing, and then 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people will do the exact same thing because they're only interested in engagement. Now, we're playing into that with Wonderhole. Like, we will have every title of every video in season 2 is a title and a thumbnail that you've seen. But again, it's the Trojan Horse thing. The content is going to be completely different. But I think that people are only interested in finding some way to engage if you just figure out yourself, you know what your strengths are, you know what can I bring to this like larger cultural conversation. If you don't have an answer to that, I don't think you've got a creative path. Because then you're just emulating somebody else.
Right. It's finding your authentic voice. We had Bobby Altoff on the show, and here's, she's an anxious, depressed girl, suicide attempts, suburban LA, finds success on doing these kind of like parody mommy videos on TikTok, and just has this inkling, like, I am so socially awkward, but I'm kind of look like this kind of pretty girl that could have been a cheerleader.
Right.
And what would that be like for me to sit across from a celebrity and just be as awkward as I can possibly be? And no one believed in her. Her agents are like, this is a shit idea.
Right.
It blew up, and she's creating her own empire based out of her superpower, which is like, I hate myself and I'm super awkward, and I want to sit down, with Drake and hate myself and be super awkward and see what happens.
And she didn't know. It was an inkling.
It was an inkling.
Yeah.
But
she had to find out.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of that energy. But I got to find out.
Yeah. So speaking of thinking and finding out, I don't think I've successfully converted you back to being Christians, but
Not yet.
I have a show idea for us to do.
Okay.
We should do Bible study. Rhett and Link and Rainn's Bible study. Three non-Christians. We can bring Alex O'Connor to moderate. We can even bring, Russell Moore or some evangelical.
Oh, yeah.
We can do it on Zoom. We can do it in the studio.
So it's not co-ed. This is real old school. It's like, because
Men's only?
men's only Bible study.
All right. You got me.
That was a type we came up on too.
We literally changed over from InterVarsity to Campus Crusade because somebody made a pitch. They were like, "You're going to the InterVarsity Bible study and it's co-ed. That's you can't really get serious if there's women."
Oh, damn, that hurts.
Hey, we'll work out cast.
Yeah. Kate Bowler. There's a lot of great women theologians, and Nadia Bowles-Weber. She's a tattooed, ass-kicking Lutheran minister.
Oh,
Okay, yeah, she can be there.
We get her and Alex. We could have.
do we get to do socials too?
I don't know what that
When you say socials, what
Like
do
you're
you
talking
mean?
about Bible study, but like I went to the Bible studies to then go to the socials.
Oh, to the socials.
Yeah.
Like
You got to clarify in
we can go
this
to like
day
a
of social
skate-
media.
We can go to a skating
like a
rink.
potluck or
We can go to a skating
He
rink.
met, he met his wife at a skating rink.
Met Christy at a skating rink. Well, I've talked about Christy a lot today.
Yeah.
I hope she hears about this.
She better be watching.
The Soul Boom Podcast. Subscribe now on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever else you get your stupid podcasts.